Hey again everyone, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be reviewing Blood Rage, the 2 to 4 player Viking game of invasion, pillaging, calling upon gods and monsters, and literally waiting for Ragnarok to happen over a series of ages to die in Ragnarok to make it glorious, die in battle to make it glorious, kill other people in battle to win the glory. Everything's about glory, in case you're not getting it by now. Yes, it's all to do with gaining glory points. It is a battle area control game, but however, the way to win it is not through winning areas and gaining control, it is through gaining glory points. You can do that through multiple ways of getting cards that have certain effects. You can upgrade your characters, getting monsters that have certain effects to take out dudes quicker. It's quite in depth, but at the same time, once you learn it, pretty simple. I think we should just go and take a look at Blood Rage. Okay, to start with, I'm just going to go through the basic setup. Each player will pick a clan. Now, the clan you actually pick has no relevance because it doesn't actually give you any extra powers, any special abilities. Everyone starts on a neutral ground, so everyone has exactly the same. It simply just is the colour of the base that you use and the minis that you use. So we have the Raven, the Wolf, the Bear, and the Serpent. Okay, once you've decided which clan to pick, get the corresponding colour tokens, put one on 6 on the Rage track, put one here on the Rage skill setting, put one on the Axes skill setting, and one on the Horns skill setting. Also pick 8 warriors of your colour and type. I always keep the bases on mine, however you sometimes might want to flip the bases on. You will also get 1 leader and 1 ship. Also you want to take a couple of the extra stands for monsters and other warriors etc. that you will get, and your point marker. This is the marker you use to keep track of your current glory or score. Okay, then we want to set up the age track. Now the first thing you want to do is separate the cards per their age. So 1s go on the top age, 2s on the second age, and 3s on the third age. Another thing that you want to do is shuffle the Ragnarok tokens and draw 3 at random and put 1 here, and 1 here. Because every age Ragnarok will happen. You also want to take this quest marker or sort of marker that goes along here, and that just reminds you exactly where you are during the game. So, I always put it on the first deck of cards before I start. Now you want to take all the other monsters and put them to the side of the board. So that's including these big figures, and you'll have some 4 or 5 smaller figures too. The board itself is not the smallest, so do make sure you've got ample space while you're setting up. The board itself consists of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spaces. Sorry, I had to count there. 9 spaces, 3 of which are in the blue province, 3 in the yellow province, 2 in the grey, and 1 which is colourless, which is Yggdrasil. This is where a lot of the power is gained. Speaking of power and how you gain it, let me show you what goes on these empty spaces here. Okay, so you take all these square tokens that all have these images on them here. 3, and there's a blue one, and reds, and greys. They represent the Horns, Rage, and Axes marks that are on your character board. Now, you put each of them on here face up. This one, sorry, with the 3 on it, always goes in Yggdrasil. Tree of Life, I believe that is what Yggdrasil was in their times. Like that. Also, remember to put Valhalla at the side of the board. Your guys are going to need somewhere to go when they die. And just remember as well to put everyone's score marker at the start on 0 points. Okay, the one thing I didn't mention was the Doom token. The Doom token is where Ragnarok will happen next. In this instance, it's Merculor. So put this here to remind everyone where Ragnarok will happen next. The last thing to do before you set up is, depending on how many players are playing, for example in this game, a 4 player, you would flip one of these over and read what this one says. This is Analang, so this is actually destroyed and isn't in it from the start of the game. The last thing to do is hand the first player marker. That's decided by the player who was born furthest to the north. It's a cool little Viking horn token. Once that's done, that is how you set up Blood Rage. Now let's go and take a look at how you play it. Okay, you might have seen me earlier put these tokens here and here. Now, this is the rage track. This is essentially your action points for the turn. Now, each different action has a certain amount of rage points. The rage points is also equal to the strength of the character, or item, or card. So the strength is the number in red on the top left-hand corner of most things. I think there's a couple where it's on the top right-hand corner. The strength itself is how much points it's worth in battle, and how much rage points, or action points, that it's going to take. For example, the leader has a strength of 3, so it's worth 3 strength in battle. However, it would generally cost the strength to invade. When invading, you take the corresponding figure and put it on an outskirt province. Now that could be any province, but it just has to be one on the outskirt over here. Now, the leader generally doesn't cost 3 because they invade for free, which has got a handy reminder here just to remind you of that. So you don't need to actually spend rage points to use the leader, which is very handy. Okay, I heard you say, what's invade, what's march? I've already used these terms. Now, there's 5 actions you can do, which are cleverly reminded at the bottom of your character sheet here too, and it is very well written out to remind you. So, you can invade, which is taking one of your figures and putting it on any outskirt province. Has to be on an outskirt province. You can't invade directly into Yggdrasil, which is the centre. Has to be one on the outskirts. You can march, which is simply, say you had 2 figures on here, just simply taking them and moving to any other province for 1 rage. So if you did that, you would move this 1 down. You can also upgrade, which costs the strength of the certain cards. Now we'll go over some of the cards in a second. You get them by drafting at the start. You can also quest, which is again a card that you will receive into your hand. You simply take the quest and play it face down here. Or you can pillage, which is when you have when you have miniatures, figures, in one of the provinces that has this token that isn't flipped over yet, you can use your action to pillage. Now, every player only gets 1 action and then it moves to the left until everyone is completely out of rage. Now, one thing I would say is, even if you have 3 actions left to do, make sure you do them before you run out of rage, because once you run out of rage, 0, no action, means you can't do squat. It can be very frustrating if you forget to do that first. Trust me, I've been there. Okay, I just wanted to quickly go over the rest on the character sheet before I jump over to the cards. So, there is only 3 types of sort of miniatures that you start with that give you 3 types of strength. So you get your warriors, which is your standard ones. They cost 1 to invade with. Leaders invade for free but have a 3 strength. And your boats. Boats can only invade the fjord sections, which is the water sections on the outskirts of the provinces. I'll show you them in a minute. Now, with the boat, that has a 2 cost to actually put it out on the board. However, it does have a strength of 2 as well and does count towards 2 provinces. Here's an example of putting a boat in a fjord now. Notice it covers both of these provinces. So it's worth 2 strength in this one and in this one for battling and pillaging provinces. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you about these character sheets was your skills here. Now you have a rage, an axes and a horns. Now you'll see that all the tokens on the board have images that correspond with this. Anytime that you see one of those tokens and you pillage successfully, or it tells you to increase one of your clan's skill stats by completing a quest, for example, anything like that, you can move one of these up. Now when you win a pillage on the board, the corresponding picture has to correspond to here. For example, if you pillage this one, that would be rage. Now, rage itself is how many rage you start with at the start of each round. So this is very handy to try and get up early on. Axes is how much glory points you get for actually winning battles. And horns is the limited amount of figures that you can actually have on the board. Now everyone starts with 4, 3 and 6. Nothing can change that. Like I said, everyone starts on a neutral ground. Let's go and take a look at the rest of the age track. Okay, on the age track, it reminds you what to do while you're playing the game, so it's very simple. First of all, you take these cards. These are God's gifts. You deal 8 to each player, and you take 1 and pass them to your left. And then they draft until each player has 6, and they discard the final 2. So you'd put the discards just back in here, for example. Then this token would move on to the action round. That is using all your rage to make sure everyone's completed their actions, so that's pillaging, battling, trying to get stats, marching, invading, getting characters onto the board, trying to get into where Ragnarok's going to happen. That's just doing everything completely until everyone's out of rage and everything's done. You then have to discard down to 1 card, so you can't take your cards all the way through, and you can also Then you also reveal your quests. So has anyone completed a quest this round? For example, a quest would be like having the most power or strength in one grey province. So the grey province would obviously be either Gimli or Analang, which is probably not good because Analang was actually blown up at the start, as you saw this time. And then Ragnarok would happen. Now with Ragnarok, you would read the corresponding tile. Then you would check how many points per figure Ragnarok would be given to whoever's in that current area. This instance, it's Merculor. Sorry, my pronunciation is going to be horrendous at this. Merculor would be 2 glory points per figure that's in that area. Anytime you see this blue triangle here, that always means glory. And just remember, at the end, the person with the most glory is the winner. Here's an example of Ragnarok happening. So, the Doom token was here just to remind people where it was going to happen. You would put this token here, remove these tokens, move the Doom token to where Ragnarok is happening next, which is Hogr, sorry, my pronunciation again, and count up how many points you would get. In this instance, you would get 2 points for each player. Anytime anytime minis or warriors or any of your characters die, they go into Valhalla. Okay, God's gifts can have all sorts of things, like clan upgrades, which you saw on your board earlier on. You can only have 3 at maximum, but you can dispose of them to put new ones down. Again, some clan upgrades are expensive, some in this instance are free. Upgrade cards give you 1 less rage to play, or cost you 1 less rage to play. That's not a good one, quite a good one. You also get monster upgrades. In this instance, it would be the Troll. I'm just going to grab him because he just so happens to be my favourite monster upgrade. They have cool powers. The only thing I would say about when you're upgrading, so that's your characters, there are character upgrades, so leaders, boats and warriors, or putting monster upgrades. When you pay to upgrade them, so you pay that 2 rage to upgrade this card, put this upgrades card onto your clan sheet, and then clip one of your bases onto the monster, and the monster then invades for free. Again, remember, invasion needs to be on an outskirt province when you're doing it. So that's a cool thing about the monsters. You also have battle cards. Now I'll explain how you battle in just a little moment. So the battle cards consist of +1s, +2s, some of them +3, 4, 5, 6s, but usually they have like a little bit of text at the bottom as well. And when you're battling, you all play like that and then reveal at the same time. Strength of your characters plus the number that's in the middle is how much is the total number of strength that you have, and whoever has the most strength in that province, or grey area, blue area, yellow area, Yggdrasil, wherever you are, is the winner. And the other players would have to then leave. Your other players would then die and go to Valhalla. And you, if you were the pillaging player that turn, would then get to turn the token over and seek the rewards of that. So that's quite interesting. There's a ship upgrade, for example. You play that again on your character sheet. This one's gain 4 glory when a ship is destroyed. Now here's the dreaded Loki cards that I kind of dislike a little bit about the game, because if everyone gets these cards, they just end up mutilating everyone on glory points. Because I say everyone, if one person, gets all these Loki cards, they do just end up mutilating everyone on glory points, because they just send their guys to death all the time, which I guess is a clever way to play. There's another clan upgrade. So after you reveal a quest card in combat, you may treat it as a +3 battle card, because everyone must play a card when you're in combat. When you lose the battle, forgot to mention this, when you lose a battle, you don't discard the card, you keep it in your hand, but the winner has to discard his card. So if he consistently wins, he can end up with less cards in his hand, but you need to discard down to 1 at the end anyway. These are the quest cards. These are the last cards that I wanted to show you. Now, quest cards themselves, like I said, you play upside down on your clan sheet until you get to the quest section on the age track. And this one is a good example. So, if you have the most strength in at least 1 Alfheim, which is a grey province, then you get 5 victory points. Also, if you complete it, raise one of your clan stats by 1. Most of the quests get to raise your clan stats by 1, and most of them give you a decent amount of glory points. And the further you go down on the age track, so in age 3, God's gifts get a lot more powerful and give you a lot more victory points. And that was just some of the cards I wanted to show you through. Bearing in mind that you draft these cards and end up with 6 in your hand and have to discard down to 1 regardless of how much you've used once everyone's used all their rage. Now I think I just want to show you quickly how battling and pillaging works. Okay, now, pillaging or invading or marching or anything like that. You must only place the amount of warriors, leaders, just minis in general that you have, to the amount of villages that are in the province. In this instance, there's only 3 circles here. So, with my 2 warriors that are here, so I'm just going to show you, for example, pillaging now. If on my turn I wanted to pillage, which is a free action, costs me no rage, I could do that. But then, it goes to the players on the left of me to if anyone wants to get involved. And they can get involved by putting figures in there, but as you can see, there's only going to be 1 spot, so they can only actually play 1 more. Actually, only 1 more mini can go into that village there. So, say for example, on the player on my left, we asked if he wanted to get involved in this battle, and he wants to, so he moves his leader in there. Bearing in mind that the leader is a strength of 3. So now, I have a strength of 2, because these are the warriors, and the leaders were 3, so he's currently winning. The next stage of the battle is to select the cards that you're going to use. Once they've selected the cards that they use, they push them both forward, and then reveal. Now, it's the total strength of your characters plus battle number on your battle card. Now, in this instance, it would be 4, 2 plus 2 plus versus 5. So, in fact, the other players have won. Because I pillaged, this player does not get this reward. However, my guys do go into Valhalla. I get to take my card back into my hand. The other player, in fact, loses his card. And that's how battling works. The only other thing you need to resolve is getting your victory points or glory points for battling. If you win the battle, you always get glory points equal to the amount of axe stats that you have at the moment. In this instance, because it's at the start, everyone would have 3. So the opposing player would then get 3 points. Man. Okay, one other thing I forgot about this age tracker is once Ragnarok's happened, you then release Valhalla. So any points or anything that happens when you gain guys from getting guys back from Valhalla, etc., always happens during this stage. Once you've completed all 3 ages, the person with the most glory points wins. Let's go and take a look at what I thought of Blood Rage. Okay guys, my opinion on Blood Rage overall. Another awesome game by Eric Lang. He really did crush it with this one. In my opinion, it's one of the most highly rated games that I own. I love it 2-player, I love it 3-player, I love it 4-player, and I've played it with a 5-player expansion, and I love that too. One of the downsides, I think, is sometimes the drafting mechanic. You can end up with... You basically don't want one player to end up with all the Loki cards, in which case he can just keep sending dudes in, they just keep dying, but he keeps gaining victory points. And then in Ragnarok, it's like double victory points. It's just... It can get really hectic if that happens, so you do need to be aware of all the cards that you're sort of passing to your left and remembering exactly what's going on. As far as everything else goes, I really do find this game hard to pick faults in. I really do. And that's not saying like I'm picky or I look at trying to find faults in games. I really don't. But as far as that goes, the card drafting mechanic can be the only one that really lets it down in the cards that you get. However, I kind of see expansions coming out in the future that's going to add maybe a slightly more cards to the deck, so there's going to be a little bit more variation, and you obviously don't end up getting them all. I see it being quite an easy game to make expansions for, and I see them making a few in-depth expansions for it as well, so I do look forward to seeing that in the future. As far as the actual gameplay goes and everything else about it, I love the minis, the quality. It's cool mini or not, right? So the quality of the minis are, as always, brilliant. The quality of the board is fantastic. The cards are good. The only other... Okay, so I said I had one downside. Okay, I have 2 downsides. The Ragnarok piece of paper and the Valhalla piece of paper. And the reason I'm calling them pieces of paper, because they are cards, but they feel like paper. It's so thin. The card is so thin. And the same goes for the clan sheets. That could have been thicker, but I guess it's a case of keeping the price point down when you're buying it at retail, as opposed to the Kickstarter version, etc. But other than that, it's a really fun game. Blood Rage is one of my favourite games. It really is. It's one of my most highly rated games, and anytime somebody offers me to play it, I'm really keen to play it, and I'm really keen to try and, dare I say it, just kick some butt and gain some glory. Like, it's just a really awesome game, and that's my opinion on Blood Rage. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope you guys enjoyed Blood Rage. If you don't, what's wrong with you? Otherwise, don't forget to comment down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check me out on Patreon, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Other than that, I hope everyone's having a fantastic week, awesome time, and I'll catch you guys later. This episode was sponsored by Gameslore, the UK's largest specialist games retailer, which can be found at gameslore.com.